Oh shoot. Here, we'll slide in just 1 second. Forgot to open YouTube Studio. How y'all doing? Hope you guys are interested in learning some cool stuff about Astra. Well, the loading screen is up. There we go. Oh, there we go. How's it going, everybody? How y'all doing? Hope you all are having a good day. We are just chilling for now. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time before we get into anything Astra related, but hope you guys are excited to learn about how to utilize this character to the best of your abilities. Better Astra? Hell yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. How you doing, Autumn? You said earlier you're doing great, but how's your day been? Hope you've been chilling. Hope you've been vibing. Yeah, so far my day's been fine. I've been chilling. I've been drinking soup. Nice. It's been a good day so far. We've been vibing. Straight chilling. Work right now? Thankfully your stream would cure my boredom. Heck yeah. I'd love to hear. Well, hopefully you can still learn some stuff while you're at work. And hey, if you get busy, you know, you do have the YouTube channel, which will have the VODs of everything. Twitch mobile, so it's on delay. Gotcha. I think there's a way to get rid of the delay. There's like a low latency mode. If you go to your settings on Twitch, it's a mobile specific thing. You go to your settings on Twitch, there's like a low latency setting that you can turn on so that you get rid of the delay, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh, very cool, very cool. Heck yeah. Alright, so you know what? Might as well. I'm gonna make my We're Live post. Oh, I already did. Never mind. Let's just go ahead and start, you know, hopping into stuff. You know, if people come in, they come in. I like that. Alrighty, so we'll go here. Nice. Alrighty. Oh god, what? Oh god, what? How you doing, Shane? My worst enemy, Astra. No, understandable. Very understandable. I'm gonna make things easy. I'm gonna make things like as straightforward as you can be. Astra is a very like versatile character. You can do a lot with her. So I want to teach you all how to utilize her to the best of your abilities, and hopefully you learn something and you can utilize it on your own. One thing that makes Astra really hard is, whoa, that was loud. Hold on, I need to turn my sampler down. Jesus Belizus. Nessie, thank you so much for the resub for 3 months. Sheesh. Three's nuts. True. So true. Oh my god, that was a jump scare. Oh, because I didn't save it. That'll do it. 63%. There we go. Save. Alright, confirmation. And minimize. Cool. I forgot to save my settings last night when I was modifying my go XLR. So there you go. Anyhow, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So Astra's a very unique character in the fact that, you know, not only does she have smokes, but she also has utility that's really, really good for post plant. Overall, super versatile character. You can do so much with her. Very, very fun character too. Alrighty.
What up, suckers? You okay?
What up, suckers? I don't think I've ever heard the voice line. Pretty cool. There we go. Cool. Alright, so as you know, Astra has 3 main abilities and then her ultimate. So her first 2 abilities are excuse me, her Gravel, which she can place stars in a you know, wherever she places, and she can use that Gravel to pull agents to the center of it, which will also add a suppression to them, making them take double damage. Her second ability on her Q is Nova Pulse. Essentially what this is it's a stun, similar to like the way Breach Stun works, where if you are concussed by it, you are slowed down significantly and you get blurred vision. Very, very hard to deal with. Her third ability on her E is her smokes, her nebula or slash dissipate. And what essentially this is it's just her normal smoke. So if I like place a star right here and I pull it back, you have a smoke that lasts for, I think it's 20 seconds. Hold on, give me 1 second. I can tell you. Turn this off. It lasts for 15 seconds. So 15 seconds on the nebula pull, which is a decently timed smoke. You can do a lot with it, considering you can use it infinitely as long as you have stars. And then her final ability is her ultimate, which is an astral wall or astral divide. And essentially what this ability does is it makes it so that there's a nice big wall that deafens and almost silences sounds on the other side, and also makes it so you can't shoot through it. So bullets shot on this side will not go through to the other side. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. In addition to that, her astral can have abilities thrown through it, which is another thing we'll go through a little bit later. But for now, we'll go ahead and start over the basics of Astra and how to utilize her. So in order to place stars on Astra, what you'll do is you'll have a key that's bound to, I believe default is bound to X. And essentially what that allows you to do, it allows you to go into astral form, which keeps Astra in a still space while she places stars anywhere on the map, which is very cool. Do you think Astra should get nerfed, or should Brim and Omen get buffed? I think Astra should get nerfed, and I think Omen should get buffed. I don't think Brim is in necessarily a bad spot right now, but I do think Astra needs a nerf currently. She's just significantly better than any other controller in the game. Yeah, getting back to it. So in your astral form, you can place stars anywhere on the map. You have 5 stars to place, and you can place these all in the same spot. You can place them all in different spots, and as long as you have no cooldowns on your abilities, you can, you know, do a bunch of really cool combinations with them. Another really interesting part about Astra stars is that when placed, if a star is placed and you use your action key, which should be bound to F, you can recall one of these stars to leave a 2-second smoke, maybe like a 1.5 smoke, up in order to, you know, create a sort of temporary smoke. You can use this to fake a smoke. You can use this to, you know, cross safely into another area. There's a lot of different uses for this, but as far as ability goes, click F, you'll recall the smoke. Very convenient. Very convenient. So getting right into how I would like to play Astra and how I believe that Astra is very strong is because Astra can place stars all over the map. She is the only global controller in the entire game at the moment, meaning that she has accessibility to every single itty bitty portion of the map where Omen and Brimstone cannot. As you know, Brimstone is limited to his smoke controller pad, his iPad's like area, and Omen can only throw a certain distance for his smoke. So on larger maps like Breeze and Ascent, Omen cannot smoke certain parts of the map, while Astra can, and same with Brim can't as well. Very cool. So one of the nice things about the way that Astra is played, or Astra's abilities, is that these stars can be placed down prior to the round starting, however with a delay on the startup of the round. So if I place an Astra star at the entrance of A main and one, like, let's say right in front of it, these stars will not activate until I believe it's 2 seconds into the round. Here, we can try it.
I am with you. We are strong.
It's like a second and a half, so
Blocking vision.
there's a delay before you can actually use the abilities.
Need that back.
Essentially what that is, that's to prevent people from doing very stupid strategies that used to be incredibly popular when Astra was available. There was a lot of things you can do where people would just place like a star here and pull off the rip. It's very unfortunate. Can enemies see the stars on the ground? Yes. So one of the really interesting parts about Astra's utility as compared to, let's say, Omen or Brimstone, or let's say Cypher with his cages, is that Astra stars can be seen on the ground prior to their use. So if you have 2 stars placed here, let's say I just placed a couple stars like that, that's all 5. These stars will show on the ground to the enemy. I don't think it'll change color if I swap teams, but these stars will look exactly like this on the ground. Only difference is that they won't, you know, have the little symbol underneath them, and they'll usually be shaded the enemy team color. As far as Astra stars go, so just like any other utility, Astra stars need to be purchased at the beginning of every round, and I can go ahead and show that real quick by turning abilities off, and we'll just go ahead and go to the next round. In addition to that, thank you for actually mentioning that, Nesu. In addition to buying stars, Astra will always start with 1 star, so you'll always have a single piece of util if in case you are too broke to buy anything else. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. I'm glad that you brought that up. Another interesting fact about Astra stars, before we get into any utilization of it, is that if Astra places a star throughout a round, yo Carcass, how's it going? If Astra places a star throughout the round, so let's say I place a star, you know, to 3 stars down. If I place 3 stars down, if you look at the bottom of the HUD, right here, you'll see 3 of these stars are grayed out. And if I recall these stars back at the start of the round, if I recall these stars back, you'll see that they'll be yellow instead of green. This means that this utility will not be refunded at the end of the round, and you will have to rebuy them. If they're green, you're fine. You can still have them after the round ends. So for example, let's say we have, I'll recall 2 of these. We've got 1 gray, 2 yellows, and 2 greens. If I restart the round right now, or let's say the round ends,
30 seconds left.
I only have the 2 stars that I did not place down. So you have to keep that in mind if you are on a tight economy and you want to use the best of your utility for that round. Yeah, so Astra can only suck with 1 ability, which is very, very interesting. One of the craziest parts about Astra's utilities is that all of her abilities God damn it, Garg. I saw this coming. I saw this coming. Oh my god. Oh my god. So one of the interesting parts about Astra's utility is that her abilities, while they are while she only has 5 stars, her abilities are set to a specific cooldown. So for example, if you place down 2 stars and you want to use a gravel on both, you technically can. You can use the same piece of utility twice, which is different from any other utility in the game, where it can only be expelled once, unless it's being recharged by a kill. Where I can never tell, do both stun slash sucks pull people off bombs, or does it just suck? As far as bomb slash post plant goes, we'll go over that a little bit more in depth later, but only the suck pulls. The stun is just in case you want to swing onto the enemy and you wanted them to be in like a position where they won't really be able to fight back to the greatest of their abilities. But in order to showcase the way that the pull works, the pull is on a 25-second cooldown. So after another 25 seconds, I'll be able to place down another star and use that same ability. And the grab wheel is also on a 25-second cooldown. Or not grab wheel, Nova Pulse. So after 25 seconds, the timer ticks down, and you will be able to use this piece of utility once again, as seen right now. Which is very interesting. Compared to Astra's the only agent in the in Valorant that has rechargeable utility as such, where she doesn't have to get a kill, she only has to, you know, wait down cooldown. I believe actually that's a lie. I think that Omen smokes also can be reused. But unlike smokes, you know, this is some pretty strong util. It's kind of crazy. Goes pretty hard. Oh yeah. All right, let me restart the round, get my stars back.
No worries, Charlie. No worries.
And we'll go and buy some stars. Okay, so now that we've got into how the stars are and what Astra's abilities do, we can go ahead and get into the way that you know, she plays throughout the round. So for example, let's say you're defending on Ascent. We're on Ascent right now. So a lot of Astra players that I've seen, especially in, let's say, lower elo or players that are newer to the character, will generally hold onto Astra's utility until it's absolutely needed. Although this can be good in order to save utility and be very reactionary with her utility, it can actually be a deficit to your team in case something happens and you don't have the reaction time in order to place it. So generally, a rule of thumb, in my opinion, a really good rule of thumb, regardless of map, is to place 3 stars down at the beginning of the round. And those 3 stars should be placed down at the entrance points of sites. So for Ascent, I like to place 1 star in A main and 1 star in B main. And then depending on where I think that team, the enemy team, is going to hit, I'll place a additional star outside of the smoke. Let's say that either the site I'm on or the site I think they're going to hit. So let's say this team has been going A site every single round. I'll place 3 stars, so I'll have my 1 star at B, and then my 2 stars at A. One will be used as a smoke at the entrance, and the other will be used as a gravity well or a Nova Pulse, if in case that the enemy team happens to come to this site. Now, some of you might be asking, so why don't we use all 5 stars at the start of the round? Why don't we want to place things in advance to potentially get the upper hand on our enemy? The reason why you don't want to do this is because the round can shift in a numerous amount of ways that you might not be able to foretell. For example, if the enemy team throws what's called a default, which I will go over in our team strategy slash building composition masterclass, which we'll probably do next class. But if a team throws what's called a default, which they split across the map, let's say 2 go A main,
Right there.
1 goes up A cat, and then the other 2 go B main. If I have all my utility placed out across the map, and I believe, okay, let's say I have my utility set up like this, so I have all my stars placed down, and we think they're going to be coming to B site. So those 2 people peek B site. I'm like, okay, my teammates say, smoke it, please. I smoke it. So currently, B main is smoked. And simultaneously, at the same time, we have an issue pop up at A site where the enemies are like fighting at both A and B site, and I have to smoke that side off. And let's say I have to, you know, B site starts pushing out, I have to stop that, and I have to stop A push. I currently only have this 1 star at middle, and what can I do with this star? If it's already placed, I have to recall it, and before I can use that star again, there's a delay, as you can see down at the bottom. There's a decent delay before I can use this star. I believe it's 10 seconds. Don't quote me on that. Not entirely sure. But but there is a delay before you can utilize that star again. So the best rule of thumb is to make sure that at the beginning of the round you only place 3 stars, if any, so that you have 2 to utilize at your expense. So let's say something happens where you're getting pushed on. You're like, okay, I'm stuck gen. I smoked that off. They're coming tree right now. Now I have another star that I can place down really quickly to try to make myself in a better position that I'm, you know, safer, in less trouble if I even wanted to, and I think they're gonna come out. I can place stars like this, so that way, you know, let's say they start coming out, I can, you know, at least have a fighting chance and not be in a really, really poor position. Do you want to have those 2 stars at your expense at the start of a round? Not to mention, it also makes it so that in case that you need to recall a piece of utility and place another utility down somewhere else, you have those stars to do that. So for example, if I have all my stars placed down, and I have one extra because it's just bugged out right now, but I'll just leave that there. If I place all my util down and I need to recall the ones from B site to help A site, with this delay, by the time the stars are up, the enemies will probably already be out onto site and the utility will be wasted. So best rule of thumb, keep on to 2 stars to utilize at your expense. And this also goes with coordinating with your allies. For example, I'm just gonna use some of these smokes just to get rid of these utility. Of course, so if you look at the star when you place, there's 2 like outer lines. The first line, smoke radius, but what about the second line? What is that for? What are you talking? Oh, okay. So the first line on the inside, that is your smoke radius, right? So here, I'll go over that briefly. And that's something that's not really I would say it's very undersight. I honestly don't even look at that when I utilize it. Here. So like Ryan was saying, if you look at the way the smoke's placed, if while looking at the star, there's a nice couple of rings that go around the star. So one goes on the inside like so, and the other goes on the outer edge. So what that is, Ryan, is the star on the outer edge symbolizes the use of a gravity well or a concussion, and then the one on the inside is for smokes. So for example, if I place 2 stars in the exact same spot, so I'm just gonna place one. Well, you can't place them exactly the same, but I can place one close to it. I'll place it to the side. If I have a smoke, you'll see when I pull, this outer line is gonna be where the gravel is. So the gravel goes outside the smoke line, because technically the gravity well is larger than the smoke is. Actually, I have another good way to show this. So for example, if I place a smoke and I utilize it and I place another star on the same spot, you'll see the gravel on the outside, or the concuss. The concuss also goes on the outside. Go ahead and turn on abilities for this. So for a smoke, the gravel is larger than the smoke, so that's what those two lines mean. Yeah. And those lines can be very, very helpful when using them for things like post plant, where let's say you have a bomb down and you want to know how close I can place a star in order to make sure that that bomb is completely covered. You can place it, and it'll even show you on the map. So when you're placing the star, you see how it has the outer 2 lines. When you're placing it, it's got like the one ring around the center, and then the further ring. So you can utilize those lines to figure out, okay, how far can I place the star to, you know, make it so that I have the best use of this utility. So let's say bomb's planted on A site on default, and I want to pull anyone off of the bomb. If I place a star at this point exactly, I will still be able to pull anyone that's on the bomb, even if they're like at the edge right here. Because if they try to defuse bomb from here, they'll get sucked off, and they god damn it, they'll be pulled off the bomb and they won't be able to contest it. So good point on that. Thank you for bringing that up. These are very minute details that I don't usually think about, so I appreciate it that you you touched on it. Not something that I normally think about. Alrighty. So Astra, like I said earlier, her utility is incredibly useful for collaborating with your team. Brian, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Appreciate it, homie. Appreciate it. But like I was saying, Astra's utility is extremely team reliant. While she can be played by herself as a very strong controller on, let's say, a solo site, her utility goes best when paired with another piece of agent utility. For example, Sage Slow and here, actually, we'll get more into it. So with Astra's Gravity Well, like I said earlier, it also suppresses when any allies and enemies that are pulled in this gravel. So if I'm pulled in this gravel, I'm not only slowed at the bottom left, you see, but it says vulnerable at the end. And what this means is I take double damage. On addition to this, because of the slow effect while pulled to the center of the gravity well, any other sort of stun or slow that is applied while in this gravity well will leave you permanently pulled to the center. And it literally does not matter what slow it can be. It can be getting slowed while being shot. It can be slowed while being let's say a stage slow or a chamber slow. It can be, let's say, even if you get body blocked and you know, let's say you're trying to walk out and somebody walks in front of you. All those things will leave you in a very poor state and pulled to the center. In addition, you can also run out of you can, if you have your knife out or if you have your gun out, you can run out of a grab well. So I'll just give examples of that right now. While it is hard, you can do it. However, walking is much more difficult to walk out of a gravity well. If you have your gun out, you cannot walk out of the grab well. I believe you can if you have your knife out, but it's very, very slow. Okay, actually, you just can't walk out. I lied. You can't walk out of a grab well. So the only way is if you run, which in Valorant, if you are walking while slowed, it still makes noise. So if I'm trying to walk out of a grab well, I'm being pulled. It'll make noise as I go out. Oh, what else can we go over before we get into anything crazy advanced? Oh, another interesting piece of information regarding Astra utility is that it is extremely large on the Y coordinate. So if I go ahead and place a star, let's say in heaven, the smokes, when smoked, will go through the ground. As you can see, they make a nice dome shape. And this is also true with any of Astra's other utility. For example, Astra's gravity well, when placed above an area, will also affect the area below it. And the same goes for a shock. So if I pull right here, I will still get pulled to the center, even though it's above me. And the same goes for Astra's Nova Pulse. So Nova Pulse will also reach below as it does above.
Knocking them.
It's also very hard to see it if it's placed above. So these two pieces of util, because of the way that the gravity well pulls the center when enemies are slowed, and the way that Nova Pulse works by stunning and slowing an enemy, can be correlated together in order to make it so that you are permanently stuck to the center. Although it does take two pieces of utility. And these can be used to clear out multiple different angles. If you think somebody is in wine and you for sure want to clear them out, you can do so. You can't physically walk against this corner. So if you're pulled here, you can stay in the corner if you just keep walking. However, if you are stunned then pulled, you can have no choice but to be sent to the center of this of the gravel. And that's the basics of Astra's utility. You know, the gravel when coupled with a slow is really good for making sure enemies are pulled to the center, and the Nova Pulse is very good for clearing out angles and making enemies that might be open in an area very easy to fight because they will be stunned. And this stun lasts for 4 seconds, 5 seconds. It's pretty brutal. It's like breach stun. It lasts a long time and it's very hard to use. or very hard to play against. Very cool. Alrighty, so there's a many different ways that Astra can be coupled with other allies and enemy utility. As I was saying earlier, Sage slow, Chamber slow, just any damaging utility will make it so that an enemy is permanently stuck to the center of a gravel. With that in mind, it can be coupled really well with pieces of utility such as mollies. If you have Brimstone Molly, Raisinade, Viper Molly, all of these utility pieces really combine extraordinarily well. KJ Molly, they all go really well when coupled with a gravity well. So anyone that's in this poll will be, you know, stuck to the center and be in a very poor situation. And I can go ahead and show a clip of what that might look like when coupled with some really good team coordination. Let me go ahead and find this here.
So we don't need to overstack.
Alrighty. Anything about this game by listening intently? Perfect, Amora. Perfect. All about learning, you know? Alrighty, let's see. We're gonna go here. We're gonna do full screen, display capture, sick. Okay, so this is from a scrim back when I was on the team, and I'm gonna let you listen to the comms. This is what really good team coordination looks like, but also shows the power of Astra's utility when coupled with other agents. For example, in this clip, we have Raze, Sage, and Astra being coupled into one spot and leading to a very strong and very powerful utility combination. So I'll go ahead and let that play.
So we don't need to overstack.
Can you place a start here, and then on our call, if we need it, suck, and we'll slow need it, or hopefully slow first, then suck.
I'm gonna try wall late. That's my goal here. I have a hard time picking it.
They stunned. Q. You suck. Suck. Oh! Let's go!
All right, so as you can see, this is a very extreme example of this utility working in sync. You're not, just because you couple your utility does not mean you're going to get an ace every round. It also relies on the fact that your enemies also sort of fall into that sort of trap that you set up for them. But it doesn't mean that it won't work necessarily every time. So when coupled with things, let's say a chamber alarm bot, Chamber's alarm bot's really good at this, at that sort of setup, because not only is it a piece of utility that alerts you when an enemy is present, but it also slows on the contact of that enemy if not broken. So those two pieces of utility can be very easily coupled together. So let's say outside of a main on ascent, if a chamber slow is placed either right or left side of the entrance of a main, and you have an Astra star set like this, so let me go and recall that. This is a very common setup on a site.
Concealment.
So if you have an Astra smoke here and a chamber, you know, alarm bot set to either the right or left side of the smoke, on the contact of the alarm bot, you can actually pull or use the gravel, and anyone that has triggered that alarm bot or is in the radius of that slow and the gravel will just be pulled to the center and stuck in a very easily shot at spot. Very interesting. Alrighty. So, moving away from the way that Astra's utility couples with other agents, I want to go more in depth into how Astra's utility can be used to both hold and take sites. So as I said earlier, a really good idea at the beginning of each round is to place 3 stars at the entrance of each site. A general rule of thumb while placing these stars is that you want them to be flush with the entrance that you are placing them at. So for example, what that means is that if you look at the circle, flush is basically, the word flush means that it is going to leave 0 like room for them to come out. For example, if I place this star right here,
Obscuring vision.
this is very flush to the wall, and it gives a little room to like sneak out. And even if they do peek like an angle like this, they'll be seen before you they see you. So they have to really swing out of the smoke. And the reason why you want utility placed like so that there's very little room for the enemy to creep out, is so that if you do have a utility such as Killjoy alarm bot, Chamber alarm bot, Cypher cam, you want these you want the utility to be able to take the front of the enemy. So let's say you have a Chamber alarm bot, KJ alarm bot, whatever, placed in the corner here, and you have Astra smoke placed as such where it's not flush to the wall. If somebody walks out from this side of the smoke, that alarm bot's not going to do you any good. If they walk out of the front, that alarm bot is not going to do you good, because the way that the alarm bots in this game work is based off of line of sight. So if you cut that line of sight by placing a poor smoke, it can put your team at a disadvantage for holding that sight. So you want to try to place all of your Astra stars if they're a smoke flush to the wall, and then if there are any other piece of utility, rather like a Nova Pulse or a Gravity Well, you want to place them further out. Same goes for B site. You want to place them flush and then place them further out. And we'll show what that looks like. So smoke, let's say enemies are coming out, you can Nova Pulse them, Gravity Well, vice versa. Same goes for B site. So enemies are present, smoke, you have it nice and flush so that there's no way that enemies can just sneak out. In addition to this, you also have a nice little sort of like cheeky one-way angle that you can shoot from if you're market. I don't think just using it though, it's very easy to get punished on. But yeah, you place it nice and flush.
Obscuring vision.
Smoke is set, and then if they do come out, you can gravel, you can Nova Pulse, either or.
Without us blasting them.
Very convenient. Yeah. And that is just the way that you want to play Astra on defense. As far as her default setup goes, you always want to make sure that the entrance to sites are smoked off. And this can go for any map. On Ascent, we have A and B main. If we're looking at maps like Split, you want to smoke off B main. You want to place a smoke usually at middle, because middle is a hard place to hold on Split. And then you also want to place smokes like a smoke maybe A main or A ramp. How long are Astra's smokes? So the really cool part about Astra's utility is that her smokes last the same amount of cooldown as the smoke is up. For example, if I place an Astra star and I use the smoke with cooldown with infinite abilities off, if I use the smoke, you'll see the timer at the bottom by the piece of utility will start counting down from 14. And that tells you the exact amount of time that this smoke will last. So you have 14 seconds, 13, and this will count down all the way down to 0, and I'll just let that show what that looks like. And at 0, the smoke will dissipate. It's very convenient. It's a very easy way to tell how long that a certain smoke is down. It's about 15 seconds. 15 seconds. That's what the timer is. You got 15 seconds on each Astra smoke. So let's say I smoke 2 places off. These smokes will go down in 15 seconds. So if you can time that in your head, you can be like, okay, the smoke's gonna go down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That smoke is gonna go down. This smoke's going down. Nice. If you can time it together, if you know when each smoke is going down, you can easily tell which smoke is the more important to hold. For example, if I place a smoke here and a smoke at tree, and I smoke off A main and I smoke off tree, maybe like, I don't know, 4 seconds later. Obviously, you know that this smoke's gonna go down first, so it'll be better to watch. So let's say, okay, this is going down, and then there's 5 seconds left on the other smoke. Because I place it later, after the util's done, it'll go immediately to the next util, or next smoke cooldown, which is rather convenient. Alrighty, we'll turn infinite abilities back on. Yeah, very convenient to know. Timers in this game are very, very important, especially when it comes to smokes. It's very I don't know, I would say it's imperative to know how long a smoke lasts, because if you can time when the smoke dissipates, you can really push on it. You can maybe set up util to stop a potential push after the smoke fades. There's a bunch of really good uses of it. that can advance your gameplay. For example, let's say like, okay, you know smoke's going down. I don't know. You have a smoke cat.
Blocking vision.
If this smoke's going down in, let's say about 10 seconds now, about 5 seconds, and the smoke is going down in 3, 2, 1, the smoke goes down, you know that you're gonna have to fight somebody here. So knowing the timers on the smokes is can really help advance your gameplay. And the same goes for how long it takes when you pull back a smoke. Knowing how long the smoke lasts. So okay, the smoke lasts enough for me to walk across, you know, without being seen. So I can place this smoke, walk across with my knife out, bam, without being seen. So knowing the timers on every each piece of utility is it really advance your gameplay. You can also do things called fake smokes in Valorant with Astra, where if you, let's say you think somebody might be in tree, you can pull this back and go to take a fight. So by the time the smokes go down, they might be not looking directly where you are, because most people will just hold the smoke. Let's say, you know, they'll be sitting here, they'll be looking at the outer edge. So like if you place a piece of util like this, you pull it out, they're gonna be like looking around, and you can just like pop out of the center. It's pretty convenient stuff. So as I was saying, as far as Astra utility goes, with, you know, just defending, you want to make sure that you're placing them flush to the entrances, and you want to make sure that they are placed in a fashion that you can utilize them to benefit your team. So, you know, smoke, if they come out, you can pull them so that they're stalled. Astra's utility is incredibly good at stalling. Another thing is, if let's say the bomb gets placed down onto a site, let's say the bomb's placed here, you can also use your utility to clear out areas. So let's say you're trying to take a site, you know that A main is the only place that's open because usually people close doors, so you can smoke off A main, and then you can use your utility elsewhere to help clear out other angles. For example, smoke, and then maybe you can you know, stun this and pull here, so that this way, you know, anyone over by dice in this general vicinity will be stunned, and anyone over here will be suppressed. And there's a bunch of different ways to utilize this. What you don't want to do, however, you do not want to place your utility where it may endanger your allies. For example, if you have allies playing hell and the enemy is in heaven, you don't want to place a suck or a stun here, because it will pull and stun anyone underneath, which will, you know, punish your allies. So you want to be careful of that and keep that in mind. Moving on, we're gonna go ahead and head over to the attack. Switch sides, switch teams. So on the attacker side, Astra stars are not generally placed down at the beginning of rounds, unless absolutely sure of a plan. For example, if you want to make a mid play, then you place stars prematurely to make a mid play. And you want to be very specific in the fashion that you place stars prior to the round. Because if you place all your stars down prior to, let's say, the round starting, especially while on attack, you are putting yourself at such a disadvantage. I would say almost more of a disadvantage than if you were on the defense. Mainly because of the fact that in order to recall all those stars and use them again, you know, you have a very bad chance at getting them back and utilizing them in the timely fashion that your team needs them.
Obscuring vision.
In addition to that, and the way that Astra smokes can be used, or stars can be placed while on the attack, you also want to make sure that the stars that you place down are being placed down at good choke points. For example, people like to attack on cat, so let's say, you know, you can place a smoke on cat. People like to swing mid, so you can figure out, okay, there's 3 places you can smoke mid. You can smoke, you know, the front of middle, you can smoke the middle of mid, and then you can smoke the top of mid. And each of these smokes have a different purpose. So this smoke you use if you want to cut off the entirety of mid. If you don't want anyone to see you mid, you place that smoke. The second smoke behind it, which is I'll utilize once the smoke is down, so we'll wait 3 seconds, 2, 1. That smoke goes down.
Blocking vision.
This smoke is used if you want to clear bottom of mid, let's say with a Sova dart, or if you want to take mid control and you don't want the enemy to know that you're walking up. Use smoke to take some sneaky control, take mid control, and utilize it in a nice fashion. And finally, the last smoke, which is used at the top of mid, or bottom of mid technically. That's top mid, this is bottom mid. The smoke used at bottom mid is good if you're trying to make a mid to be hit, or if you're trying to take market control. The smoke will cut off the entire line of sight of CT, and you can easily take in any control over at market. Now getting back to why you don't want to place all your stars on the attacker side, especially prematurely. There are significantly more spots for you to wall off, not wall off, but smoke off on the attack than there are on the defense. For example, as an attacker, or as a defender, excuse me, as a defender, you only need to smoke off entrance points to your site, if any. And obviously this depends. Let's say maybe you want to push down mid, you'll place the smoke tiles or something like that. You only want to place smokes at the entrances of site. However, on the attack, there are much more angles for you to smoke off that you have to take recontrol. For example, there's catwalk, there's tree, there's heaven. These are 3 different smoke sites, or 3 different smoke spots for one site. If you're coming from cat, let's say. If you're not coming from cat, you're coming from, let's say, A main, you still need to use 2 smokes to place. So if I have 4 smokes placed down all towards one site, and I don't know which I'm gonna need to use at a certain point,
Concealment.
it might not be a great idea to place all your stars at the other site if you're going to have an issue, let's say executing on A site. So if I place all my stars down on A site and we use these 2 stars, or use these 2 smokes, we're gonna have a really hard time if they hold us out on A site and I need to recall these smokes.
Recovering it.
Here, I'll just place this down again so you can see what it looks like with the timer. So if I use these 2 smokes,
Obscuring vision. Blocking vision.
and I need, and these smokes, they hold us out of sight, these smokes go down, and I need to recall the other 3 smokes, the time it takes for those smokes to get up are going to be significantly longer than it will take for us to probably, want to be taking sight. So the smokes go down, we still aren't out. I have such a long timer for these smokes to come back up. And that's significantly why you don't want to place all of your stars down prior to the round starting, on the attack. You want to make sure that they're very concise and, utilized in a fashion that will benefit your team to the maximum potential, to the maximum of their potential. In addition to Astra's utility on the attack, her utility is probably the best post-plant utility in the entire game. For example, if I place the bomb on default here, nice, I placed a bomb, I place a gravel inside that like outer edge, so if you look at the outer line covers the entire bomb. If anyone tries to defuse the bomb, whether, let's say they are at a corner here, if somebody tries defusing the bomb and they get pulled, they physically cannot defuse the bomb. It'll pull them right off of this piece of utility. So one of the really good parts about that is that Astra can actually use this utility from anywhere on the map. I'm gonna restart the round real quick so we don't blow up.
I call you Charlie because it means you're my friend.
And I'll swap back
But
to the
maybe
other
I should call you
side.
Garcia because you follow.
Alrighty. Oh, we're gonna go and buy some more stars.
I have the spike.
So if I place the spike, if I plant the spike, let's say default. Oh, this is glitchy. This is buggy. All right, spike is planted. I can run back literally to the other side of the map. If I ghost right now, let's say if my teammates were planting bomb all the way over at A site, I could still help with utility from the other side of the map. And this is why Astra is so strong. Your utility can really be used anywhere.
Concealment.
So I can use smokes, I can use my suck, I can use my stun, and that utility will go off at the bomb site, even though I'm at the other side of the map. Very, very potent utility. We'll go ahead and end round before that starts.
Here and now. Here and
Now the final piece of utility that I have not really touched on too much, that Astra has, is her nebula wall. Her I think that's what it's called. Astral or Cosmic Divide. There we go. Her Cosmic Divide is her most interesting piece of utility that she has, purely because of the difficulty that many have while placing it.
I am with you.
So there are many ways to utilize this or to use this utility. How you use Astral Divide is what you do is you go into Astral Farm or Cosmic Divide, excuse me. You go into Astral Form, and instead of placing stars as you normally would, you would right click, which will set up your ultimate. And how this ultimate works is whenever you left click with the ult, it will stop at you where it'll stop you in that point or at that spot. So let's say I place it at a main here or like CT here. If I click and I hold, it will spin that wall in any direction that I want. And this makes it so that you can utilize this utility and say, okay, I want the wall to go down in this very specific manner. And let's say, okay, I want the wall to go down so it cuts off, I don't know, I want it to cut off just CT.
Well divided.
In order to place that wall, you have to recast it. And what that will do is that will place the wall in the exact manner that you wanted it to. Now this wall can be used in many different fashions. It can be used for retaking sites. It can be used for taking sites. It's very, very potent and very insanely strong at it's getting its job done. Ooh. I don't actually know the timer on the wall, but it lasts a decent amount of time. I think it's like 15 seconds, 20 seconds. It lasts about the same length as a Astra Smoke, a little bit longer. So good walls you can use on the attack for Ascent. There are many good walls. Let's say you're trying to go B site, you just want to get onto site, you want to ignore anyone that's coming out. Place this nice little wall that will cut off the entire site for you. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this wall because anyone can just sit here and like shoot you in the back if you're running out lane. But it does leave you a free gateway all the way to site, and you can place bomb in the corner here if you want it, as long as your team holds. The only issue with this wall is that you will have to retake the entire rest of site and cause a bunch of issues if your team doesn't realize that and they just go for it. You also place an Astra wall to cut off market and CT. Oh, excuse me. It's probably one of the better walls. It basically cuts down the use. It makes it so that you don't have to use smokes to walk out onto site, as well as cutting sound and sight or vision from the enemy. It's a very potent utility, and this can be used in various ways. Let's say if the bomb is planted on B site and you're trying to retake as an attacker, you can place your Astral wall on the back of site to cut off the that is not how I placed it. Use it so you can cut off the back of site. Wow, okay. Did not know that interacts that way. Apparently you cannot place it super flush, so let's see. Oh, that's very strange. There we go. Hey, I did not know that's the way it works, but very interesting. So Astra utility can be used in such to retake, let's say B site if the bomb is planted, makes it so that you have a lot of free space to take the back site. Fortunately, I do not. Oh, I need to drink something. Yes. Holy. Good tip and trick while playing games, make sure you stay hydrated. It's healthier for you. Much healthier. Oh, good soup. Good soup. Alrighty. So does anyone have any questions on the utility that we've gone over so far with Astra? I can go more in depth if you'd like. Just let me know what you all think as far as the explanation I've given so far, and any, you know, specific examples you'd like me to go over. Oh my god. So I do not mind going to another map and trying out you know, other stars and stuff, but for now I've given the very bare basics of Astra, so how to utilize her as a solo character. What do you think? Awesome. Cool. Let's see. What else can I talk about Astra as far as her utility goes? You know, she's got her walls. If you really want to know how to play Astra at a high level solo, because Astra solo is very a different play style. You get very aggressive with using fake smokes. There is a friend of mine who is an Astra one trick. Excuse me. I'll go and pull up their account. Let me see. They give a lot of really cool tips and tricks on how to, let me see. On how to excuse me, play Astra in both comp and just like competitive scene. And it's very interesting to watch, I will say. So if you want, that's their TikTok right there. They give a bunch of really cool tips and tricks on how to play Astra at a high level in competitive, especially as a solo. Their best utility mechanic, I think, because I used to play with them on team, they are incredibly good at using fake smokes to bait people out. For example, they will just play stuff like this. They'll do like smoke trails like this. Well, they'll just like, okay, now I'm at Gen and then I can fight. Like they do the most absurd things. They'll play smokes like in the middle of sight. If they're playing defense, they'll play smokes here and they'll just like, you know, smoke it off and play inside. Or they'll place another one here and like smoke that off and then recall this one and like try to fight. They do crazy stuff. Really suggest checking them out. Their name is Cookie Wookie. Incredibly good Astra player. Yeah, very strong utility. Yeah, they have a lot of really good plays on there too. A lot of really cool plays. But does anybody else have any questions about anything else Valorant related? Moving away from Astra, I've gone over how her utility can be used and placed. Personally, I'm gonna end it a little early here today because I don't know, I'm not feeling very well right now. I'm getting hit with a wave of fatigue, which is what I would not like to happen, so probably gonna lay down for a bit after this. I apologize for cutting it short and not going as in depth. I just do not feel physically well. If you do have any other questions while I'm here, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to indulge. Alrighty. Awesome, good. I'm glad I was helpful. Cool. And without further ado, let's find somebody to raid. Go ahead and raid Nexat. He's playing Apex Legends. Very cool. And we'll do /raid Nexat G. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions Valorant related, feel free to hit me up. I will talk with you all later. And have a great one. I'm sorry we had to cut it short. I'm just not feeling well. Unfortunate. But thank you all for watching. I'll catch you all later. Peace.